Welcome to Loremen, a podcast about local legends and obscure curiosities from days of yore. I'm Alistair Beckett-King.
And I'm James Shakeshaft.
And James, this week we are rejoined by Deputy Law Person Athena Kugblenu.
Yes.
We're going to ask some serious questions. What links the London borough of Enfield to a three-legged cryptid from Illinois? What kind of creature is that dog with kind of bird's legs on the Enfield crest?
And is that a willy?
Is it? We just don't know. And once and for all, we will answer the big question. Is the Enfield poltergeist definitely actually real?
Oh, I think that question has already been answered by the people that were involved.
Well, let's wait and see. James Shakeshaft, please join me around this small table.
You went all out of focus on the camera there, which made me like... You suddenly sort of went like, poof, like as though you were emerging for a mist.
James, that's what mystery is. It's blurriness.
You're putting the mist in mystery.
Please, come hither. Come into my parlour and join me around this small wooden table.
Yes, we're back in the parlour.
We're in the parlour. Hold my hand, and with your other hand, hold my other hand.
Is this always a table, or is this occasionally a table?
This is an occasional table, and the rest of the time it's just a normal table.
Is it never a stool?
Is that a real piece of furniture?
It should be for me.
Stop derailing my seance, James. You're ruining the seance with your endless questions about tables.
I'm sorry.
The spirits will not come through if you keep cheeking me like this, James.
Okay. I've been reading about seances recently. The beginning bit they called thrilling the table.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was called thrilling the table.
In fact, I think I may have heard one of the spirits reacting to that quite good fact there.
They were thrilled.
Clearly, one of the spirits is trying to come through. Join me, James, in asking, is there anybody there?
Is there anybody there?
Is there anybody there?
Yes, I am here.
Hello, it's the comedian Athena Kugblenu.
Hello.
Hi.
That
was such a hard work. I'm sorry for James ruining what I thought was going to be a fun bit.
I ruined it by not sounding ghostly. I don't think ghosts say I'm here in SG English. There are no SG English ghosts.
I wish they would.
You know,
you would be surprised. Ghosts can have all kinds of accents. They're not all.
I sounded like an Uber driver. I'm
gentleman.
rather than an
yeah.
ethereal presence from the skies. I wanted to sound like Kate Bush, but it just went out the window. I'm sorry.
Athena, welcome back to Loremen, Deputy Law Person.
Thank you
Athena
for having
Kugblenu,
me.
welcome back to the podcast. Now, you are from a place called Enfield. Is this correct?
So I am a migrant to a place called Enfield, but as we all know, it's not where you're from; it's where you're at. I guess I am an Enfieldian. I currently it's a big enough borough for me to admit living here, so you can't find me. If you find me, you must really hate me. Like you tried really hard. So it's not like Islington, which is tiny. I wouldn't tell no one if I lived in Islington, but you'd see me in the All Bar One or something. But Enfield is big enough. But
I don't know enough about Enfield. I think of Enfield as being maybe the Croydon of North London.
God, Alice, that's what I call it.
Ouch.
I tell everyone,
is it?
Because it is.
Is that what you call it?
It's just
because I didn't know if that was accurate. I googled the phrase to see if that was a saying, and one person said it and got 900 retweets, and I thought that's close enough to being true.
And was it me?
Because
it is the
Croydon. It wasn't you, unless you have a pseudonym.
No, I might.
Is that fair then? It's
no, I use a pseudonym for racism, not geographical facts. So I don't do that. No. So I always say it because nobody goes to Croydon unless they need to be there, and nobody goes to Enfield unless you need to be here. Like
hey,
my
cousin,
cousin,
Box Park now,
yeah.
So.
Well, and there you go. And who goes to Box Park? Really? Who actually? Loads of people go. Probably it's probably just me. I'm probably like, yeah, who goes to Alton Towers? Everyone, Athena. It's like a really cool thing. Like everyone does it. But so yeah, I'm sure Box Park
Croydon
is great.
and Alton Towers, the same.
I just
easily
thought,
the same.
you just sort of, if you're going past the Box Park on your way to somewhere else, you go in to get an overpriced like roll or something, or they serve you noodles in like a bucket and they charge you more for it, but it's just noodles, guys. They cost like 60p.
This is the entire economy of Croydon you're threatening with this information.
So, but Enfield, we don't even have a Box Park. Do you know what we've got? we've got an Iceland, and next door to the Iceland is a Lidl. But normally it's one or the other. Like they just was like, Enfield's so shit, you get both of them next to each other. So that's Enfield.
James lives in Oxfordshire. Is it all Waitroses and Budgeonses?
We're walkable to a Waitrose.
I bet you've got supermarkets we haven't even heard of.
Oh yeah, like the Budgeons, but like even fancier. Like the fancy Budgeons, but even fancier than the fancy Budgeons.
You've got one called like G Blitherins. I bet it's called.
GAG Blitherins.
It's a bit of cardboard which says strawberries this way, and then you go in, and it's like a path to somebody's farm, and that's the shop.
That's your version of Tesco's, James.
And the house is made of gingerbreads, and and the kids don't come back.
So since you are in Enfield,
right now,
Enfield,
I mean, literally right now in Enfield.
You're currently in Enfield.
Yeah.
Wow, this is just going to be thrilling for our American listeners. Wow, she's really there.
Yeah.
The Croydon of North London. They don't even know where Croydon is.
They've got an idea of Croydon, surely, from this podcast. We've mentioned it.
Because you're in Enfield, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to talk about some Enfield mysteries. And I should start by saying that these mysteries might not all be completely 100% true. But you are no stranger to lies, Athena. That sounds like I'm really putting you on trial.
You're right. I'm no stranger to lies.
You are no stranger to lies. Is it not true?
In fact, I'm so familiar with lies that I've written a book about them. And the book is all
about...
What an
extraordinary coincidence.
It's incredible. It's almost as if this was planned in advance and you put it in my diary and you said, come on the podcast.
Wow, I can't believe it just played out like this.
And the book is literally called... The title of the book is History's Most Epic Fibs. And it's about lies that people have told. And it's also about why the lies were told. It's about the motivations behind them. And then, guess what? We also tell the truth. Check that out. Yeah,
twist ending.
So
has that ruined the ending of the book, or will I still enjoy it?
No, you'll still enjoy it because there's jokes and pictures in it. I didn't draw the pictures. Someone called Nicole Miles did. But it's all about lies and big lies and little lies. But it's international. I've tried to find lies from around the globe because we're all assholes. There's no. Do you know what I mean? There's no kind of
great
monopoly.
Slogan for humanity.
Yeah, that's the next book. There's no monopoly on it, so I tried to be global about that. There were some lies I didn't make it. I wanted to put a Chilcot report in it, and they were like, "Nah, Athena, it's for 8-year-olds."
So like, this is a kid's book. All the kids I know are very into the Chilcot report.
Yeah,
whitewash they call it.
That's why they go on strike and stuff about it, and it's just, like we're not learning art. We're not doing phonics until there's justice. And things like that. But so the pitch document I think will one day be a famous document because it did get dialed down quite a bit.
What sort of level of lie are we?
All levels. So one lie is women don't need pockets. Okay, we need pockets. Okay, but there's also like I've got a lie in there about the guy who created racism. So he basically said people who look different are different because that was the lie. That's all it was. So that's in there. We've got the Loch Ness monster. We've got the fairy lie about them two little girls that for a laugh. So there was fairies in their garden and there wasn't, and everyone believed them for like 100 years. And we've got a lie about the Taste tribe. So somebody in the Philippines lied about some people and in this forest, and he said they're primitive people. Come take a look at them. And they weren't primitive. He just found some people who were poor and put loincloths on them and paid them to look like they were cave people from like thousands of years ago. It was a big thing. It's a big thing in the 70s.
Well, that's like a Channel 4 documentary.
Could you imagine?
That's what they do.
Yeah,
that's poor people in England. They just go and film them. Say, could you just do something horrible on telly?
That's basically
so
it. And in 50 years' time, when History's Most Epic Fibs number 79, I'll be talking about those documentaries that they made in the noughties because I lived through it. And there's ones about like Australia, because apparently, like if someone turned up to your house and said,
"Australia's real. I've been there."
Exactly. Oh,
stop showing off, James.
Oh, whatever. I suppose you went there. I suppose you travelled there around the round Earth too, James. Yeah. I bet you circumnavigated. Let me do the appropriate air quotes. Circumnavigated this round Earth. Yeah, that's in there.
Well,
truly.
I can go through the middle because of all the dinosaurs.
And what's the age range for this? Obviously, I assume it's 8 to 80.
It is 8 to 80.
Yeah, not a day higher than 80.
Not a day. If you're 81, it will go way over your head, to be honest. It will just be gobbledygook.
To be honest, if you are 81, you'll probably be annoyed by the anti-colonial sentiments in the book. And you probably shouldn't read it.
Not all elderly, Alistair. Not all elderly.
If you're 81, some of the things you might have been taught in school as full-on
questionable
facts.
Yeah. I mean, there's no denying. you know.
I'm talking about the Cottingley Fairs, not the other stuff.
Well, that was just I think, an incredibly well set up plug for a book.
And I think I pitched it
we all did brilliantly
remarkably
there.
well.
Yeah, I think it was totally seamless. And we might come across some fibs in the course of this episode. In fact, there's one very big, obvious fib, probable fib, that relates to Enfield, which I'm sure most of the listeners are aware of. But before we get to it, I've got a couple of sidebars for you of Enfield lore. Now, I know it's unconventional to start with a sidebar, but hey, call me a maverick.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I want to clarify, we are not here talking about the Enfield monster from Enfield, Illinois.
Oh.
But since we're here, do you want to hear about the Enfield monster from Enfield, Illinois?
I would like to hear about that.
America.
Yes, please. America.
Well, in issue 10 of Anomaly magazine from 1973, they have a feature on the Enfield monster, which, as far as I can tell, Anomaly magazine doesn't seem to be like a proper magazine. It's more like a zine. It seems to be photocopied clippings from different newspapers that they put together about various cryptids that were on the prowl in the 70s. One of them is a snallygaster. There was a snallygaster hunt in Carroll County, Maryland, or Maryland.
Right.
Maryland.
Have either of you heard of a snallygaster before?
No.
I was going to say, I've heard of Maryland, but you said snallygaster.
Off of The Wire.
Yeah.
I've heard it off the Cookie.
And the cookies, yeah.
Which Americans don't know about, by the way.
What?
Americans don't know about Maryland cookies.
Maryland.
Wow. Have they not been denied the truth not long enough, you know, about where they come from and who they are, you know?
the cookie people.
I think we need to liberate the Americans. You're one of us, guys. You're all of us.
A snallygaster. Is, according to, I'm reading from the clipping in that Anomaly magazine, is according to Webster's third new international dictionary, a mythical nocturnal creature, half bird and half reptile, chiefly reported in rural Maryland, which preys on children and poultry.
Easy to confuse them.
But its name might come from Schnellgeister, meaning quick spirits in Germany, Pennsylvania Dutch.
I thought it meant good geese.
What's the age range for children? Like, are we talking like early years, teen? Like, is it?
Are you concerned about looking after yours? Is that what the cutoff is for being caught by a snallygaster?
I just sort of think with some people would say a 16-year-old is a child, and some people say that person can go to war. And I think if you get eaten, if you're 16 and then you get eaten by that, then I suppose there's evidence that you shouldn't go to war because you're a child. I'm just trying to argue.
On the other hand, it mainly goes for chickens, which are quite small.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's got to be, if the child is comparable to some sort of bird, then yeah, I think it is still a child. As the poem says, doesn't it? You know, when I was a child, I thought like a duck, I smelled like a duck, I sounded like a duck, I was a duck. And there were two sets of footprints on the sand.
Yeah.
I may be misremembering toilet poems.
I didn't even mean to talk about the snallygaster.
Oh.
It also, the same page features an account of the Enfield monster, which is, of course, from Illinois, not Maryland. It seems that anthropology student Lauren Coleman, aged 25, was on the hunt. And I'm going to read this in my closest approximation of an American newscaster's voice. Coleman said he decided to look for the creature today after talking with Rick Rainbow, news director at radio station WWKI, Komoko, Indiana, who, with 3 companions, said he saw an ape-like creature near Enfield last Saturday. Rainbow tape-recorded sounds, he said, were made by the creature. And James, would you like to provide some ape-like noises, please? I don't actually have the recording.
Huh?
Oh, yes.
Well, okay, I'll help you out. The sound on Rainbow's tape is similar to an elephant call, Coleman said. He added he has heard the Siamang ape give such a call. I'm sorry, his name is Rick Rainbow, James. That's the real man's name, Rick Rainbow. Please take this seriously.
I think what they're describing is the noise that the T-Rex makes in Jurassic Park, because that was a combination of like lion, gorilla, and elephant. And I've got to get my fingers ready for this to do it and do the sort of half turn. So imagine the banners fluttering down.
James is stepping away from the mic and brilliantly recreating that scene from Jurassic Park. Really good, yeah. That is quite. I listened to what the ape sounds like, and that's quite similar. A bit deeper, but you are a deep bass baritone. They're quite high pitched. Apparently, the creature was 5 to 5.5 feet tall, grey black in colour, and he spotted it at the open end of an abandoned barn. But since then, the reports of the Enfield monster have had it a couple of feet taller, and it's gained a third leg.
Oh,
Yeah,
hello.
and that's as it should.
Be on the lookout,
Yeah.
really.
If a monster is 5 to 5.5 foot, I'd be like, well, that's my height, isn't it? So you're gonna have. I mean, I could take that. I could pretty much handle. That's not like a mismatch. So I'm glad it gained.
It's like the child-chicken ratio.
Yeah, and
if a child's
yeah.
the height of a chicken, it's under threat. If it's taller than a chicken, safe.
Yeah, and obviously the third leg is obviously intriguing, but we'll say no more about that.
Yeah. We're not, of course, talking about the tripodal.
All right.
Is that the right word? I
yeah.
just made that up, but it sounded really scientific, didn't
That
it?
means it's got 3 feet, but we're only sure that it's got 3 legs, right?
That's true, yeah, all right. Yeah.
I don't know what leg is in Latin or whatever.
Legus.
No one knows. Yeah, trilegus.
Yeah.
The trilegus ape. We are talking about Enfield, a place in North London, the Croydon of North London. But Enfield has a cryptid of sorts of its own. Did you know this, Athena?
No, I wasn't aware of this. They didn't.
Have you ever seen a sign in Enfield with a sort of red kind of dog creature on it?
I mean, no.
Have you ever seen the coat of arms for the London borough of Enfield? Are you really in Enfield? I can't believe you haven't seen the coat
Enfield's
of
got a
arms for
coat
the
of
London
arms.
borough
I
of
mean,
Enfield.
we pay.
What? Of course it has a coat of arms. This is what you pay your council tax
I was going to
for.
say it's probably on the envelope. But, it's not something I swear allegiance to. Like, you can just live here, guys. You don't have to, you don't go to a town hall and get on your knees and say, I swear to only care about Enfield and only drink the water here and nowhere else. Whatever you do when you swear stuff. Like, I'll be here. We came for the schools. Like, we came for the schools, man. We didn't... But there's a coat of arms for Enfield. I guess there is. I've just never sorted them out.
There is, yes.
Yeah.
And I can tell you now that council tax money is pretty much all of it has been going towards the funding of mythical creatures in the borough.
Oh, as it should.
Enfield.
Okay, so I'm seeing a couple of lions, a couple of dogs. Are they dogs?
That is exactly the right question. They are neither dogs nor lions. There is a lion, and there are 2 Enfields. The Enfield itself, by the way, we are now in Heraldry Corner.
Oh.
Yeah. The Enfield is, in heraldry, a mythical beast. According to Jacqueline Fern's Discovering Heraldry, the Enfield is an extraordinary hybrid with a fox's head on a wolf's body, which sounds quite vague.
That just sounds like a fox that's been working out.
A fox that hasn't skipped hind leg day.
We have a lot of foxes.
Well, have you ever checked their front legs for eagle
No,
talons?
but-
Because they might be
I'll tell you
Enfields.
something funny. So we're really like, we're awful. We've got one of those cameras that them Google cameras, and we were on holiday, and it points out to the back garden, and we saw a fox, and it was having a real feast in the garden because we weren't there. And then we were like, what's it doing? Then we got back, and we found just carcasses. just pigeon carcasses and
animal, I
feathers,
hope, not
pigeons
pigeon, okay.
and feathers and guts.
Got children.
And we didn't really investigate. We
Depends
should
on the
have.
size, I suppose.
But that makes me wonder: was the fox a Enfield?
It could have been an Enfield. It's exactly where
We've
you
got
would
it on
expect
camera,
to find
guys. So we might have.
You might have documentary footage of a cryptid.
Yeah.
I think the Enfield would be happy to be on camera because this coat of arms seems, as far as I can tell, it seems to show an Enfield holding up a shield with a picture of itself on it.
Yeah. It's like a selfie of you taking a selfie. It's like when you're there in the mirror.
Yeah.
In a selfie.
Also, if you're looking at the same picture of me, just referencing back to that third leg thing, something's going on.
What isn't
Something's
it
going on
tail?
there.
It's just, isn't it its tail?
I think that's a tail, James.
I think that's a
At
tail.
the front.
Yes,
At the
because
front.
it's happy. It's wagging its tail.
It
so-
is just
it
pleased to
likes
see you,
its
James.
shield.
Don't worry.
Don't you see? You see the kind of wavy thing, the green, blue, white wavy thing at the back. I would have taken that off.
Oh, yes.
I would have painted that, and then I would have said, "No, that's too much." Do you know? It's the wrong color, isn't it? It's just all a bit.
I'm sure it must mean something, but
Is it a river?
Embarrassingly, I don't know. I bet it's meant to be a river.
Oh,
of
the
some
River
kind,
Lee
but
comes
I haven't
through.
done my research.
We've got the River Lee.
Oh, it'll be that.
Which
then.
is not a river.
Yeah. Oh, Lee Valley, of course.
Yeah, but it's not a river. Don't come to the River Lee. It's just like I don't know what trickle. Like it's nothing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, That makes sense. If that rubbish blue line does represent the river, then that makes sense because it is quite rubbish.
I'll tell you something about the
well.
New River. There's a part of the New River that goes through an area called Palmer's Green, and there's a sign that seems quite new, and it says, "The New River, neither new or a river."
Oh, lovely.
And I'm like, who paid for that? I mean, this is just... I'm sure we could have got a bus stop for that money. But there's a sign. But instead we've got a sign that says the New River is not new or river. Well, then tell us what it is. Don't tell us what it isn't. Tell us what it is.
Well, speaking of things that aren't what they are, yes, what we've got here in the coat of arms is an escutcheon or shield, which has an Enfield rampant, which is the
That's what I'm talking
term,
about.
Yeah, for people, I think we've discussed on the podcast before, for when people or animals do the Thriller move from the Michael Jackson Thriller video. That is when they're standing like that. That's rampant, and it also has an Enfield as a sinister supporter, and sinister, of course, means left, as we know, and the sinister supporter, of course, appears on. You're looking at it. Which side of the shield?
The right.
Yeah, because it's left from the point of view of the shield.
Oh,
boom!
right.
You're
Shield
in
left.
heraldry town, James. The rules don't apply here. That's the left side. It's just one of the weird and confusing things about heraldry that I found out while looking this up.
Nice.
Yeah.
And the origins, I'll do this very quickly. The origins of the Enfield do mean leaving Enfield and going to Ireland.
I was just going to say that I've just found out what the other side's called. The opposite side to Sinister is, of course, called the Dexter.
The Dexter.
The Dexter.
He doesn't know his Sinister from his Dexter.
I wouldn't know how to tell the difference. I don't know how. I wouldn't know how to teach my kids how to tell the difference. Like, how do you know?
Well, if you hold your hand up and if it doesn't say Dex, if it hasn't got...
I've got
I don't
S
know.
on my left hand and D on my right hand, so I easily remember. But then I have a little note saying, but if it's heraldry, it's the other way around, because it's from their point of view.
It's
So I have to turn my
the
hands around
shield's
like
point
that.
of view.
Yeah, it's from the shield's point of view.
There were so many rules. I thought they were just pictures.
It's a lot of rules.
Yeah.
There are a lot of rules, so everything seems to mean something in heraldry.
It's not a coat and there's no arms on it.
That's true. We are blowing this case wide open.
Yeah, they should get a sign that says "not a coat and no arms."
The origin of the Enfield might be the onhu or onshoe, which is an Irish beast of some kind. N.J.A. Williams calls it a fabulous water dog. I think he means that it belongs to fables, not that it looks terrific. And it might be a kind of water beast, a kind of leopard-like creature. I've read the descriptions and it sounds an awful lot like an otter. But that might be the origins. It appears in the clan symbol of the O'Kellys over in Ireland. So it might have made its way to Enfield from Ireland. But that is the mythical beast of Enfield, the Enfield. I think it's time for us to move on to something really, really spooky. It's a very hot day when we're recording this. Is it time to chill ourselves to the bone and deal with perhaps the most famous piece of folklore related to Enfield?
I think so.
I'm talking about the Enfield poltergeist.
Ah, the polterguy.
What a guy.
What a polterguy.
So, Athena, you are in the firing line. You're right there in North London's Croydon. What can you tell us on the scene? What can you tell us about the Enfield poltergeist, aka polterguy?
Well, I can tell you that the best bit of this story is that it involves two people called Margaret and Janet, which to me, like, no disrespect to Margaret's or Janet's listening, but it's kind of like, if someone's going to see a poltergeist, it'll be Janet. Do you know? I just Janet saw a poltergeist. Yeah, Janet's always seeing poltergeists. And
half of my family is called Margaret and Janet.
Yeah,
however,
and I bet they're
a lot of activity.
And I
There's
bet they're constantly going, "Where's my wallet? Oh, it's that poltergeist." And really, it's just like constant. Where's the remote control? The poltergeist. So they're just very poltergeisty seeing names. I just feel like that's the correct thing to say. So first of all, Janet and Margaret are sisters. Janet is 11 and Margaret is 13, which means Margaret is able to look after Janet and they all survive the night. Like, it's like a reasonable babysitting age, I think.
Yeah, too old to be eaten by a monster. I think.
Yeah, bigger than a chicken.
Easily.
It's bigger than a chicken, yeah. Yes, so they're safe from them, but they weren't safe from the poltergeist. And between... well, they weren't safe from the poltergeist, unless the poltergeist isn't real, unless they made it all up. But I've said too much already. I've said too much.
Yeah, I mean that is quite a big spoiler because they definitely did make it up. But anyway, carry on. We'll just pretend that isn't obviously the case.
Well, anyway, there was this period of time called the 70s, which was a decade, and in the late 70s, between
a big mistake in retrospect.
Yeah, lots of mistakes made during the 70s, and then they went on to the 80s and made even bigger mistakes. And then we got to the 90s and fixed it all. But it was the 70s, and in 77, which I think might be the year that the actual the Poltergeist. Was it called? Oh, The Exorcist. When did that come out?
I think that was 77.
Yeah, so then the same year the movie about The Exorcist.
1973, apparently.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Oh,
wow, was it that old?
I was thinking of Star Wars. Yeah, sorry.
Was it that old? Anyway, 1977, their mum calls the police, and she lives on a place called Green Street, which I know very well. And she calls the police, and
she's not well enough to dox where you actually live.
No, but because it's so far from where I live, I don't know it that well. so far, miles away. But get this: Peggy's furniture moves. So Peggy is Janet and Margaret's mum, and Peggy's furniture moves. So if my furniture moves, I don't know about you guys, but I'll just move it back to where it was. But Peggy was like, I'm going to call the police, which
I would immediately call the police.
Yeah, I just feel like it's not, it's weird, but it's not criminal. Like, it's not against the law for furniture to just move. But maybe I'm just really relaxed around ghosts. Like, I'm very equal opportunities. I'm not going to snitch on a ghost. I've heard about the brutality they face. I'm like, but Peggy, was her name Peggy? Peggy was like, no, I'm calling the police on these ghosts. Peggy. So she calls the police, and the police have to pick up the phone and hear this woman say, the furniture moved, and her children heard sounds. Now, imagine the police get a phone call every time kids get up in the middle of the night and go, oh, I heard something. I mean, it's just outrageous. Like, the police would just be like, block. You're not allowed to call us again. They take out the... Obviously, in the UK, the emergency number is 9. They would come to your house and they would remove the number 9 from your phone. And they'd be like, we don't care if your house is on fire. You're calling us because your children are complaining because they're in bed. Like, so I found that was, for me, the funniest part of the story. They're calling the police because your children heard noises. So she calls the police and a copper comes around. A police person comes around. Oh, just by the way, if your parking space is hidden by like 30 dead bodies, call the police. That's a good...
That's a fair
That's
point,
a fair
actually, yeah.
I can't find anywhere to park. Why there's dead bodies in this? But like, that's a good reason. It's just I don't want to put people off from calling the police if dead bodies are in the parking space. Anyway, just Poltergeist. Policeman comes around. He says he's, and I quote, this is what he says. He says, I saw a chair wobble and slide, which is, it sounds like you've just made that up because it has to be one or the other, really, doesn't it? It wobbles or it's like, I just think if it's a chair, chairs don't wobble. Like if you think about all the chairs you've got in your house, they're not jelly, they're just too solid. Do you know, like a wobble for me?
I was imagining it sort of rattling.
Oh, like if it's like maybe it's when you get like uneven.
But you were imagining it actually becoming jellified.
The word wobble for me sounds like you're just you would say rattle, wouldn't you? And slide is a weird one too. I just thought if you're going to talk about things that chairs do that they're not supposed to do, you would say hover or rattle, like you said, or shake. Anyway, so this policeman says that maybe he fancied Peggy and thought, I'll just go along with it. But
I should jump in and say I think the police officer was a WPC.
She could still fancied. I
can't remember the name of this person, but that does not. Yeah, it doesn't preclude her fancying Peggy. Does not rule it out. This is 1977.
Bizarrely enough,
you're in Enfield. Anything can happen.
Bizarrely enough, the report of that police officer or police constable was, because it's PC over here, all PC gone mad, as they like to say, was enough to kind of, I guess, lend a bit of integrity to Peggy's ludicrous waste of police time. And after that, this is what I can't work out. Even though it is ludicrous, so many people reported strange happenings at this address after that. Like, lots of people. And all consistent. You've got a list of them. And it was all furniture.
Almost all of them are called Morris, which is really confusing. Graham Morris, a photographer for the Daily Mirror, went round. Maurice Gross, or Maurice, I think Americans might say, but I think it is Maurice Gross, from the Society for Psychical Research and the Ghost Club.
The original The Ghost Club?
I believe the original, yes. And Rosalind, or Ros Morris, from the BBC went round. And unfortunately, Guy Lyon Playfair, whose name is not Morris.
Yeah.
No, but it's got a lion in it.
It has got a lion in there. But he plays
and it
fair.
has got... Yeah, come on,
Good
Guy.
name. And he wrote a book called This House is Haunted, which was very famous and tells the story in a sort of prose form.
Sounds a bit like something that you like in the Colosseum before, like, the bout would begin. You'd get the gladiator, you'd get the lion, you'd be like, guy, lion, play fair, and then bring it on.
Yeah, nice, clean savaging, thank you.
And but the other thing as well, these are not poltergeist names. It's not like Janet and Margaret. These people generally don't see Maurice doesn't see poltergeists. I mean, Maurice has a great time on the weekend. What'd you do this weekend? Oh, mate, I had a great time, you know. But so that's the one thing that I think lends credulity to the story. The people who backed it up have non-poltergeisty names, which is a thing.
There's a nice little bit at the start of Playfair's book where he defines poltergeist. He says, I can tell you what the word means. It means noisy ghost from the German poltern, to make a lot of noise, and Geist, ghost. By the way, the Germans don't use the word nowadays. They call it ein Spuk.
Oh.
S-P-U-K, ein Spuk. And in his book, he describes various investigations, including some of the Morrises we've been talking about, and Annie Shaw, the psychic medium, and her husband George, who, and I didn't know this, as far as I can tell, invented Gozer the Gozerian from Ghostbusters.
What?
This is the origin of Gozer the Gozerian. Did you know that? Is it true? Have you heard this?
No. I haven't heard it. I don't know
Annie
whether it's true or
Shaw,
not.
in a psychic trance in the house, trying to make contact with the poltergeist that was so troubling the family, the Hodgson family, says in her trance voice, says, Gozer, help me. Elvie, come here. And then her husband George explains, this Gozer is a nasty piece of work, George added. A sort of black magic chap. The other one, Elvie, is an elemental. She's using the elemental and Gozer is using her. He's the boss. If we get her out of the way, the whole setup will fall apart. And Playfair explains, an elemental to spiritualists is a low form of spirit used by the smarter ones to do the dirty work. So as people come in, they find lots of different ghosts, sometimes speaking through mediums like Annie, but most frighteningly of all, speaking through Janet, the girl. This is the bit that I find chilling, because I think this is totally made up. I think the throwing of objects, the moving of things, it's people fooling themselves, it's the kids larking about and doing pranks. But have you heard the recordings of various people interviewing the ghost through Janet?
Bill
Wilkins. Have you heard the voice that she does when she is channeling the ghost?
Is it that thing where they go and they sound like really grisly?
It's so like I can try and do it.
He speaks like an old Cockney geezer.
Yeah.
But right, I can do this for like a minute and then my voice hurts.
And this kid, this girl,
I sat down in a chair.
That was it.
He talks like that. It genuinely. I think this is the reason people believe it, because that's a very
and there's a
spooky
picture.
Voice. It's incomprehensible that a child could be producing that voice.
Oh, I don't know. I live with two of them. You'd be surprised.
Obviously, that is what actually happened, but it seems incomprehensible. There is a picture of her levitating.
Exactly,
as well.
and they said she's jumping, but it's pretty. It looks levitated. Like it just feels. In those days, it's like you can take
It's got a levitating vibe.
It's not like you've got a Samsung S22 and you can like do slow mo and screen grab. You know, in those days, it was like a 35mm Kodak, and it was just sort of luck of the draw. And developing was expensive in the 80s and the 90s. I can't even imagine what it cost to develop your film in 1977. So I feel like
Do you think she would have got one of them stickers on it saying, like, looks like you've taken a picture of a haunted child?
You have to take pictures of the living. The dead don't photograph well. They can't focus. But that for me was interesting. And I think that's the thing about hauntings. What happens is people take advantage of them and like for profit and money and blah, 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 blah. But also that doesn't mean the haunting isn't there. They just exaggerate the haunting. But it doesn't mean there isn't something spooky going on.
Which is exactly the argument that Playfair and Morris Gross end up making, which is that, they faked it a little bit, but they just faked it around the actual supernatural, unexplained stuff. So there's lots of activity goes on, and lots of claims are made. I think what's weird about it is it's such a mixture of plausible and implausible. Like there's a lot of stuff which just sounds like the kids are throwing things, the kids are caught, faking things on a few occasions.
Yeah, banging the ceiling with a broom
banging
and stuff.
the roof, bending spoons, I think. When you listen to the recordings, the voice is incredibly convincing, but it talks kind of like a child doing an impression of a ghost. Like Bill Wilkins, the main ghost who she contacts, though she makes contact with many over the course of the many interviews, has a dog called Gober the Ghost. Like, I just don't think you would. Gober the Ghost? You're a 72-year-old man, Bill. Have some self-respect.
Yeah.
Maybe you got the ghost once he became... Maybe you got the ghost dog once he became a ghost.
Yeah, maybe the ghost... I don't have an explanation for that, but what I do know is that if I was a ghost, but I didn't want people to know I was a ghost, I would change my voice to sound like a child. That sounds like a ghost. So instead of saying...
But
that's what... Like, I came in... Like, I'm a ghost right now, right? And I said, hello, I'm here. Just so you would know I'm a ghost, right? So that is what we do. That's how it works, you know?
There was one bit of the recording I listened to where he had some right sass on him. And I think
ghost.
A lot of rude words in the recordings.
There was... Well, this isn't a rude bit. It was... okay. He says, like... I think the person interviewing says, like, oh, why can't I see you? He goes, because I'm invisible. And he goes, well, why are you invisible? He goes, because I'm a GHOST.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, that is exactly how a child is.
When you don't want the dog to know you're taking
sassy.
it for a walk.
Or when you don't want the dog to know that you're a ghost.
Yeah, you just spell it out. Yeah.
Goes of the GHOST.
There's some weird bits, yeah.
He doesn't know.
There's a similar bit where she, or the ghost, is being asked why she's chosen to haunt that place, and essentially she says that, or Bill says that he lived there. But there's just a phrase, and I can't work out. It's grainy, hissy tape, and it's very old. So I think what's being said is that she's talking about a place right near the church where Rena lives, and all my friends come from there as well, and we all make a game and go to the pub. Which I think is like a child's idea of what an old 72-year-old man is like. Yeah, me and all my friends live here, and we all go to the pub.
But yeah, so that's that. Anyway, it tracks. Old guy.
So you're vouching for Bill as genuine old geezer.
Yes.
Genuine
Ghost.
dead 70s.
Sorry, GHOST.
GHOST.
Well, I can read another quote from him, which is him being a bit more aggressive, but we're going to have to bleep this because I'm afraid he uses some ripe language. Just as they're getting close to finding out the truth about Bill, he's being interrogated by Rose on this occasion, which might be Rosalind. I'm not sure. Sorry. Just as he's being interrogated, he interrupts his questioner, saying, "You no, shut up! I want some jazz music. Now go and get me some, else I'll go balmy."
Wow.
Because the thing about the 70s is it's hard to tell if that is old-fashioned or not, or whether "get me some jazz music or I'll go balmy" is something a child would say in the 70s. It's very hard to judge whether that's a child's idea of something old-fashioned or whether that's really old-fashioned.
What do old people like? Jazz music.
Jazz music.
But did old people like jazz music in the 70s? Because he would have been presumably born around 1900.
They like disco.
Yeah, so that would mean he was in his 20s, 30s when
old
jazz
people like disco.
came over here.
I want proper swing.
He would be into disco.
You silly prick.
They were into the Bee Gees and ABBA. Where I want Waterloo. Where's my Waterloo?
All my friends like ABBA. We put a record on and go to the pub.
And I mean, it's overly aggressive, but all a lie. But either way, it's unacceptable.
It is unacceptable one way or the other. You're right. Well, I feel like, Athena, you're leaning towards believing that this is a real case of spookums.
If we don't have this, we got nothing. All right, so I can't come here and be like,
"Well, you got that dog with the claws. You've got. I mean, the Enfield monster could visit with
I
three
can't
of his legs.
come here and be like, oh, it's a sham, because then what will people come to Enfield for? Me? No, they come for me. I don't live here, honestly. You'll never find me.
Nowhere near Green Street.
You'll never find me. I think it is. I think it is a lie. But I think there are some but there are some inexplicable phenomena there was inexplicable phenomena happening at the time during the time this case was live, and I think that cannot be denied. And there were things there were no explanation for, and we should acknowledge that something happened, and I don't know what it was, but it was spooky.
You know, that it reminds me, in reading of it, in reading about it in preparation for this, it reminds me of the Jeff the Talking Mongoose story, which we covered on this podcast with Pierre Novelli ages ago, because similarly, it's probably a fraud. It's probably being perpetrated by one girl who we know is probably faking it. And yet, there are lots of things that are hard to explain if it's just that. So maybe it's several people working together. Maybe it's several people unwittingly working together to sort of create a story, or somehow, unwittingly collaborating. Here's what Joe Nicol of the Skeptical Inquirer says in conclusion. As a magician experienced in the dynamics of trickery, I have carefully examined Playfair's lengthy account, bit of a stank on the word lengthy there, I think, lengthy account of the disturbances at Enfield, and I've concluded that they are best explained as children's pranks. Interviewed by the London Daily Mail, Janet, at age 45, living in Essex with her husband, a retired milkman. I don't know why he mentions that, except to add verisimilitude. Janet admitted that she and her sister had faked some of the phenomena. I'd say 2%, she admitted. The evidence suggests that this figure is closer to 100%. Although Nicol acknowledges that maybe people were fooling themselves rather than just being fooled. But Athena, you are the expert in lies and fakes and fibs.
Yes.
If you say it's a ghost, it's a ghost.
It's a ghost. Come spend your money in Enfield.
It's a G-H-O-S-T.
It's a G-H-O-S-T. Well, on that bombshell, we may have found our first ever real ghost on this podcast. It's funny that you say that, because Graham Morris, the Daily Mirror photographer off of one of the Morrises from before, spoke to The Independent in 2023 about this, and he has his own, I think, unique explanation for what was happening, because obviously what we've done here is quite a superficial skimming of the vast amount of what you might call evidence. But Morris's explanation for it is that something was happening around Janet that can't be explained, which is, now that I think about it, not that good an explanation. But he doesn't think it was a poltergeist. He doesn't think it was a spirit. His explanation is that she has somehow harnessed telekinetic powers or some force which we currently don't have a scientific explanation for, and that those forces were kind of swirling around Janet, which is kind of a semi-skeptical explanation for it. All right, James, are you ready to score this?
Oh, yeah, I reckon so.
Okay, Athena, I suggest the first category we should go with probably
Absolutely.
supernatural.
Agreed.
Yeah, James, what do you say? Come on.
Oh, well, it depends which way you're going. Are you going to go with the nearer to 2% or the much nearer to 100% explanation?
I mean, we have Athena, who is our resident fib expert, and she said that this was a real ghost. So,
in which case, it's got to be 5 for G-H-O-S-T.
One for each letter. Yes. Straight in with a 5. I didn't even need to pitch you the Enfield monster with its legs and
oh yeah, I forgot about that.
The guy with the claws. Yeah, the leprechaun hat
And
other things which might not make the edit. Wow, I don't think we've ever achieved a 5 so quickly. Wasn't expecting
a ghost
it.
is a ghost, mate. Do you know what I mean?
It is a ghost. Yeah. Second category. I think we should go for names. What do you say?
Oh yeah. There is. I mean, Guy, Lion, Playfair, lovely.
We've got a lot of Morrises. We've got at least 3 Morrises.
Morris Gross, Joe Nicol. You didn't mention Milburn Christopher, whose name is on backwards.
Oh, we didn't.
You got Janet, Margaret, Peggy, lovely.
Yeah.
I just browsing the wiki. What was the name of the dog?
Gober the Ghost.
Gober the Ghost.
And the very similar Gozer. And Elvie.
This
Both
is,
evil
guys,
spirits.
look, this is a British mystery. Listen to those names. This is like, we should be proud. Doesn't it make you, as you were saying those names, I could hear God Save the King just in the background.
The Snallygaster, James.
The Snallygaster. Yeah, all right.
Rick Rainbow of WWKI.
I like Rick Rainbow. I love the name Rick Rainbow.
Yeah.
Is it his real name?
I suspect not, now that you ask, but As far as I know, yes.
His mum was Mrs. Sunshine and his dad was just normal Rain. That's how it happens. I think it is high. It's.
Oh.
I think it's also a 5 because there are some lovely names, and and it's really strong. I don't think I could argue it down, to be honest. I think it is a 5.
This is Janet. The minute Janet was involved, it was a no-brainer.
Janet, Maggie, Peggy.
Yeah. They're all names from photographs, from family photographs in my family. Like if you any family photograph, it's every photograph has a Janet.
There's Janet Jackson come to visit.
All sitting around in one of those working men's clubs that you were talking about on the day women were allowed in.
Playing a game
once a year. Yeah, probably
it's
playing a game.
It's so funny. You fight to go to these
friends,
spaces and you go, oh, it smells of fart in here, and you leave. It's like.
Yeah, but in those days it smelled of tobacco, so nobody could smell the underlying fart. It was only once they banned smoking indoors we realised pubs really smell very bad. Oh, this isn't nice. For the third category, I would submit What a Dog.
With category.
What a dog / water dog.
Because there's the
water dog. What a dog.
Yes. Because on the one hand, we've got the Onhu, the fabulous water dog. Mm-hmm. We've got its descendant, the Enfield, and what? A dog? It's kind of what you guys said when I showed you the shield. You were like, what? And of course, we've got Goba the Ghost.
Goba the Ghost.
A dog. Goba the Ghost, the dog.
Good old Goba.
Goba the dog, the ghost.
Goba, he's a good dog.
And Gozer the Gozerian has dogs.
It does have 2 big dog
in the movie. 2 dogs.
Things.
Hang on, guys. Yeah. So many dogs. You'd think I lived in Barking.
Oh, lovely stuff. Oh, that is lovely stuff.
That's the end of the podcast. We just have the klaxon.
That's the end of all podcasts.
Yeah, I did the wrong klaxon noise. I did the error
both
noise.
Because no one.
Family Fortunes by mistake.
There's a London Borough of Barking.
Yeah, you need to know that.
Understand that.
We once saw someone with really tall hair going to High Barnet.
Yeah,
probably mentioned that on the podcast before.
Did you put it on Instagram Reel? Because that's a very.
Unfortunately, I didn't know. No, I don't photograph strangers on public transport. I just remember things that I see and then say it in stand-up comedy, which is fine and completely ethical. So that's a lot of dogs there, James.
That is a lot of dogs.
You'd be barking to give us a low score.
I'm not going to give you a low score, but it's not 5 because the main thing is a polterguy, which is, as we know, German for noisy goose. Not
ein Spook.
Ein Spook. Not a good boy. So it's going to be how many dogs we got? We got the one. We got the one on the coat of arms. No, we've got
2 on the coat of arms.
We've got we've got 2 on the coat of arms. We've got the GHOST dog, and is there one more?
Well, there's the Onhu, which is the Irish antecedent.
That's the same one as the one on the coat of arms.
Well, it's got a different name, hasn't it, James?
Okay, then 4. 4, right then. 4.
Wow, okay, that's better than I was expecting.
It might be an otter. Wait a minute, I didn't hear that bit.
No,
I've said it now.
I said that. Thank you for rendering your verdict.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair.
I think the final category, please get ready with the bleeps, is shut up, I want some music. And for the benefit of people who haven't actually heard what I said there, I said the one from Star Wars.
Well,
how can you both drink water after hearing that word? It's just I've got a cup of tea here. I'll put the kettle on again. Do you know what I mean? It's just off. Yeah.
It's a very warm day, and we need to hydrate.
Well, I think that 4-letter tirade, mostly 4 letters, is going to be a 4-number score.
Oh.
Score for J-I bleep bleep bleep.
I think you bleep the I. I would bleep the I there, James.
Because you just bleep, which is worse.
Z.
The adjectival, the adjective. There, guys. I won't unless it gets. I'm not going to be happy. Like it's just worse. It's worse. Getting with it.
How many of this will make sense once bleeped?
So yes, it's 4. It's a rude 4.
A very rude 4. Well, thank you very much, and thank you, Athena, for bringing us one of the rudest and most unpleasant ghosts.
I didn't think it would go here. I just thought
No.
I just thought a haunted council house. How are you going to get a chat out of this? But that's all I had at the time. I didn't really have anything else. I was just I've had a busy few weeks, so that's just what. But I'm really pleased it's turned out this way.
Before you go back to your kitchen island,
stop it. Stop it. You'll send the thieves. You'll send the thieves. Silence yourself.
I bet you've got one. That's how they'll find it. Yeah,
it's a breakfast bar.
One more plug for History's Most Epic Fibs.
History's
Go.
Most Epic Fibs is a book about history's most epic fibs, and you can pre-order it or go to a bookstore and buy it from the 12th of September. However, I would pre-order it and get it sent to you. Then you don't have to leave your house. Why would you do that?
Yeah, the cool people
listen,
are all pre-ordering it,
I will forget that I pre-order books, and then I get these books, and I think I have no money because of this thing that I do. I keep buying books, so please buy my book so I can buy more books. But it's a good book too. No jokes. It's
Brilliant.
It's for children. So,
that's something to work on for the next one.
Good feedback to know that I forgot to mention. Although we do talk about helmets.
And that's probably a fade out into the music moment there, I think. It's naturally fading out, letting the listener imagine where the conversation went.
Thank you very much, Athena.
Thank you very much, Athena. There you have it. Ghosts real. We finally decided ghosts are real.
Oh, glad we got to the bottom of that.
Thank you very much, Athena. Please buy her book if you like cool, funny, and factual things.
I do. I'm going to buy it.
I mean, I was talking to the listener there, but yeah, go ahead, James.
Well, I am going to do it as well because I'm also listening.
I think we're going to need a record scratch for this outro, James. Go ahead.
Oh, also, listener, come see us live this weekend. You've got not much time to do it on the 18th of August, 2024. At 5:30 p.m. at the Bill Murray Pub in London's Angel, England, UK, so on. We're doing a live gig. It'll be really fun if you could come or watch it on a live stream, probably.
Don't do that. Come.
Yeah, that would be better. Unless it's really far.
Yeah, be reasonable.
Join us at patreon.com/LoremenPod for exclusive bonus episodes and access to the Lorefolk Discord where you can chat with like-minded Lorefolk. And leave us a review.
Why not?
Or just 5-star us in places where 5 is the best amount of stars. I feel I should add that caveat. If it's a 10-star system,
then give us 10.
Then give us 10. And otherwise, thanks for listening. Thanks to all the people who already do support us on patreon.com/LoremenPod. And thank you very much to Joe for editing this episode. See you next week for more fun. Also, check out the YouTube for a video version of this. There's so many things. Record unscratch. Sounds like a doggy. Alistair, I just want you to know I do my own research.
Yeah. On the YouTube.
I did some research for this and I instantly put myself off and distracted myself because I misspelled Enfield Poltergeist as Enfield Loltergeist.
Oh, and it really was, wasn't it?
It really was.
It was more maybe an Enfield Rye Smile to Geist at points. And sometimes maybe an Enfield Good Point to Geist. Not actually funny, but interesting to Geist.
No one's used it on the internet, as far as I can see.
Loltergeist. We could have called the podcast Loltergeist. That would have taken even longer to explain than Loremen.
The Lolterguys. It's like Ghostbusters 2, but funny. Oh, that was a burn, wasn't it? Ooh.
Ghostbusters 2 is funny. It's just really badly paced.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
That sort of comment would have got the slime bubbling in the little pot.
Well, it's every scene is too loose and goes on for several minutes too long.
Fair enough.
Speaking of things going on a bit too long.
Yep.